Have you ever sat beside someone you've loved for decades and felt a kind of silence you couldn't explain? Not an argument, not anger, just a soft, aching distance. Two people still sharing a bed, but no longer sharing themselves. You still make dinner, still ask how their day was, but the spark, the warmth, the closeness feels like a memory. And you wonder, is this just how things go when we get older? But what if I told you that intimacy never really disappears? It doesn't vanish. It doesn't die. It just gets quiet. Like a song you haven't played in a while. Like a light dimmed by time, but not broken. And the most surprising part? Bringing it back doesn't require some grand gesture. It doesn't require medications or perfect health or even full desire. It begins with something much smaller, a touch, a glance, a quiet, "I miss you," whispered in the dark. I've spent over 30 years working with couples in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who thought the romantic part of their life was behind them. And yet, I've seen them laugh again, blush again, hold each other like it was the first time all over again. This isn't about trying to be young. It's about remembering that you're still alive, that the part of you capable of love, warmth, and desire never truly left. So if you've ever wondered whether it's too late to reconnect, whether it's too far gone, let me show you why the answer is now. You don't feel it all at once. It begins slowly, almost politely. Maybe your hands feel colder than usual. Maybe you sleep next to the person you love, but your backs are always facing. You stop reaching for them, not because you don't care, but because it feels awkward now. It feels distant. And you tell yourself, this is just part of getting older, that it's natural, that everyone goes through it. But here's the truth most people don't hear. The first thing to fade isn't desire. It's blood flow. It's chemistry. It's connection at the cellular level. Your body isn't broken. It's simply quiet, because you haven't spoken its language in a long time. As we age, the smallest blood vessels in our body, especially those responsible for arousal, sensation, and warmth, begin to narrow. The communication between brain and body grows weaker. Signals that once used to travel with speed and strength now arrive muffled, delayed, or not at all. Your mind may still hold the memory of intimacy, but your body begins to forget. And the longer that silence goes on, the harder it is to come back. Not because it's impossible, but because you've started believing it doesn't matter anymore. You avoid the mirror. You avoid your own reflection. And sometimes you even avoid your partner's touch, but deep down something aches. Not loudly, just quietly, like a room that used to be filled with laughter, now collecting dust. When your body stops being touched, when affection disappears, your nervous system begins to adapt. It shifts away from connection towards survival. It conserves energy. It downregulates sensation, and you begin to feel like less of yourself. That's not aging. That's disconnection. And the good news is, disconnection can be reversed, but only when we stop pretending it's too late, when we stop normalizing the silence and begin listening to what our body and our heart have been whispering all along. Carl always thought of himself as a man of few words. Retired truck driver, with straight back, hands like sandpaper. He spent most of his life keeping things steady, reliable, predictable, But at 74, something changed. Not all at once, just slow, almost quietly, like the spark that used to live in his chest had dimmed. Not gone, just hiding. His wife Linda noticed. She never said much. She just smiled a little less, sat a little farther away on the couch, stopped reaching for his hand during evening walks. And he didn't blame her. "Doc," he told me one morning, "it's like I'm still here, but I'm not really with her anymore." There was no argument, no betrayal, no tragedy, just time and distance in silence. When I asked him when was the last time he touched his wife without a purpose, without asking for anything, he couldn't answer. He looked down at his hands. "I used to hold her fingers during church," he said. "Now I don't even know if she'd want me to." I told him to try something that night. Not big, not dramatic. Just sit beside her on the couch, then gently reach for her hand. He did, and something broke open. She didn't say a word, just turned her palm to face his. She laced her fingers through his, and tears started rolling down her face. "I thought you didn't want to touch me anymore," she whispered. "I thought I'd lost you." That was all it took. Not a pill, not a therapy session, and the wisdom to just the courage to reach. Since that night, they walked together every morning, still quiet, still steady, but now their hands never let go. And when Carl looks at her, you see something in his eyes. Not youth, not lust, something better, recognition, like he's remembering who he is again. Then there's Eleanor, Stefan. She was 78 when she came into my office. Elegance, composed. Her lipstick always matched her scarf, but her voice shook when she said, "I miss feeling like a woman, not a patient, not a grandmother, just a woman." Her husband had passed a decade ago. She never remarried, and somewhere along the way, she stopped touching her own skin, stopped wearing perfume, stopped looking in mirrors too long. "It feels silly at my age," she said. "Who would even want to touch someone like me?" But I reminded her that desire has nothing to do with age and everything to do with permission. So she gave herself permission, started putting on that perfume again, started brushing her hair differently, started holding her own hand when she sat by the window, just to feel that contact, that presence. And something changed. One afternoon, she joined a local dance night at the senior center. Nothing fancy, just low songs and soft lighting. And there, beneath the warm hum of music, a man named Harold offered his hand. She took it, and as they moved, she whispered, "I haven't danced in 40 years." Harold smiled. "You're doing just fine." And in that moment, Eleanor wasn't a widow, wasn't invisible, wasn't someone whose time had passed. She was just a woman, dancing, being held, feeling alive. And that's what this is really about. Not restoring performance, but restoring presence. The kind of presence that says, "I see you, I remember you, and I still want to be close." Here's the thing no one ever told most of us. Intimacy isn't just emotional. It's biological. And like any part of the body, it responds to use or neglect. The reason so many older adults quietly lose that spark isn't because their heart doesn't care. It's because their body stopped being spoken to. Let me explain. When two people are close, really close, the body responds with a beautiful cascade of changes. Blood vessels expand, nerve endings light up, hormones fly, and chemicals like oxytocin, dopamine, and nitric oxide begin to dance. But when touch disappears, that entire system slows down, not just in the bedroom, but across the whole body. Nitric oxide is one of the keys. It's what helps blood vessels open. It's how your body delivers oxygen to your brain, heart, and yes, to your most intimate areas. Without it, circulation weakens. You feel colder. You move slower. You think foggier. And your desire, it dims. Not because it's gone, but because there's no signal calling it forth. Testosterone and estrogen also play a role, not for youth or performance, but for energy, resilience, even immune strength. And when we stop engaging in any kind of physical or emotional intimacy, those levels drop further. The message your body receives is clear. This part of life is over, power down. But it doesn't have to be. Even gentle affection, a hug held just a few seconds longer, a hand resting on a shoulder, the sound of laughter shared between people who love each other. Those moments reawaken the system. They release oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It soothes the nervous system, lowers cortisol, reduces blood pressure, and tells your brain, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm alive. Touch, closeness, and emotional presence. They're not just niceties. They're medicine. I've seen men regain color in their cheeks, seen women sleep deeper than they have in years, and seen couples who thought their time was done just begin smiling like teenagers again, all from something simple, not sex necessarily, but connection. One man in his mid-70s told me, we didn't do anything dramatic. We just started sitting closer. Now my legs don't feel so stiff. And for the first time in years, I wake up with energy. Was it magic? No. It was biology. The body is a system of signals. Ignore one long enough, and others follow. But tend to one with care. And the rest, remember how to follow. Just like watering a dry plant, touch sends a message to the body. You're not forgotten, you still matter. And what blooms next often surprises everyone. Sometimes the hardest part is knowing where to begin. You've spent years not touching, not asking, not hoping. And now the silence feels too big to break. But healing doesn't begin with a miracle. It begins with one small moment of courage. One hand reaching, one glance that lingers, one sentence you haven't said in far too long. I miss you. For some, that first step is sitting down next to your partner at the end of the day. Not at the edge of the couch, not across the room, but close, so your shoulders touch, so your knees brush ever so slightly. Let your bodies remember what words forgot. For others, it might be rediscovering the power of voice. A soft compliment whispered in the kitchen, a memory shared before bed, even something simple like, I was thinking about the time we danced barefoot in the living room. You'd be surprised how often a story brings someone back to life. And if you're alone, this still matters. Place your hand over your heart when you wake. Breathe in. Say to yourself, this body is still worthy of care. This heart is still open. Put on the lotion you used to save for special occasions. Put on music while you fold the laundry. Smile at your reflection, not because you feel young, but because you feel seen. Touch doesn't always need another person. Sometimes it begins with how gently you hold yourself. And from there, the courage grows. Each moment of presence, each small act of reaching out, is a signal to your nervous system that the story isn't over. It's just paused, waiting for a new paragraph, a new page. And that page might begin, "Tonight, I think it's too late for me. That part of my life, it's gone. Maybe I missed my window." But let me tell you about someone I met not long ago. His name was Thomas, 82 years old, widowed, 2 knee surgeries. He told me, straight-paced, "I don't think I'm allowed to feel that kind of closeness anymore." Oh, wow. As if intimacy had an expiration date. As if being seen, touched, wanted was something you had to retire from. But here's what happened. He started taking walks again, wrote a letter to an old friend. Then one night, in the middle of dinner at his daughter's house, he reached for a woman's hand. Her name was Joyce. She had lost her husband too. They didn't say much, just sat beside each other while the grandkids played. But that hand resting quietly in his was a beginning, not of romance necessarily, but of return. The truth is, if you're still breathing, you are not done. Your body is still listening. Your heart still remembers. And your spirit, it's just waiting for permission to feel again. Not permission from anyone else, but from you. Maybe this is the reminder you didn't know you needed, that your story isn't finished, that the most meaningful chapter might still be unwritten. Because aging doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean fading. It doesn't mean giving up on feeling alive. It just means learning to listen in a new way, to your breath, to your body, to the quiet part of your heart that's been waiting to be touched again. You don't need fireworks. You don't need grand declarations. You just need a moment. One look, one touch, one honest sentence that says, "I still care," or "I still remember us. I still want to feel close." Tonight, when the lights go off and the quiet settles in, reach, not with expectation, not with pressure, but with presence. A hand on the shoulder, a whisper before sleep, even a smile when your partner walks into the room. And if you're on your own, place your palm over your chest. Feel the rhythm still there. And say, "I'm not done." Not yet. Oh, you're not. There's still time for laughter, still space for love, still warmth waiting to be shared. Let this be the beginning of something new, not borrowed from the past, but built with who you are now. Your best days may not look the way they once did, but they can feel deeper, wiser, and more real than ever.